Welcome to Community Spotlight, a production of CMAP TV. Community Spotlight is a series designed to showcase local businesses and organizations and highlight local profiles, people in your community who are doing great things, have done great things, or have great things to share. Welcome. We hope that you enjoy our show. My next guest is David Cox from St. Joseph's Family Center. St. Joseph's is just one of the Gilroy legacy organizations that has been serving our community as well as a few neighboring communities for decades. David has been at the helm of St. Joseph's for decades, and we'll get into that a little bit. But Dave, welcome.
Thank you so much, Mike. Pleasure to be here as always.
Yeah.
And happy holidays.
Happy holidays. So tell me, speaking of holidays, you guys had a pretty busy Thanksgiving. Tell me a little bit about the run up to that, some of the challenges and opportunities that you faced, and how you were able to just get through the holiday rush.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I've always felt that our agency is based on the back of our community, whether that's people making financial contributions or rolling up their sleeves and helping us out with this very labor-intensive work. But we've always been aligned with our mission, and our mission is very centered on food security, access to food, diminishing hunger, increasing nutrition, and of course, shelter opportunities and housing. So we stayed very aligned with that. For the holidays, there's always kind of an uptick, but it's really not much different than what we're seeing on a daily basis. And ever since the pandemic, and we kind of, I think a lot of us thought things would be returning to some normalcy, for us, the service need has continued to go up. It is not decreasing, it's actually increasing. And so we're having a challenge, of course, like a lot of nonprofits, like a lot of community-based organizations, meeting that ongoing need. So it's kind of this perfect storm, Mike, where we have diminished resources and an increase in demand. So it is doubly hard to sustain, and deliver on the needs that the community has.
Let's talk a little bit about the uptick from the pandemic and going forward. You're right. There's a lot of indicators in our area, but in the general economy that just, we would have all expected things to be a little bit better by now, and it doesn't seem like we've been able to get out of the blocks again and just get things moving. And that has a direct impact on families, especially families on the edge, financially, or maybe just different work conditions. Maybe I have 2 part-time jobs, no full-time job, things like that. So those families on the edge, that one little thing, the economy slowing down a bit or changing, has a direct impact on thousands and thousands of families that you serve just in this community.
That's correct.
So beyond Gilroy, you guys also work with, tell me where else you work. Is it Morgan Hill and North, or?
We're very South County centric. Okay. So we always consider this, I always kind of joke that we never go past the garlic curtain. But really, I would say the vast majority of our services are for South County. Okay. We do try to follow and support what we call a no wrong door system. So if somebody is, let's say, working in Gilroy but lives in Sunnyvale, we certainly want to provide them services if we can, because it's a lot easier. Sure. And we want to make sure access is there. Right. But Gilroy, Morgan Hill, San Martin, those are the communities where we've thrived and where we've been kind of a lighthouse agency for over 50 years.
50 years, okay. And speaking of decades, how long have you been at the helm?
So too long, I think most people would say, even I'm saying at this point in time. But going on my 24th year. 24 years. Yeah. So and I think that some of the community knows, we actually are in the process of finding a replacement. I've announced my plans to retire, which I'm excited about. A couple times, right, yes. Yeah. But I think we're going to do it right, and I'll actually segue a little bit. One of the duties we have as a business, we're a business, even though it's a nonprofit business, right, is we have to do whatever is necessary to make ourselves sound, right. Whether that be sound programmatically, sound with our position and place in the community, or financially. Mm-hmm. So one of the things that we looked at, and it kind of dotted all those things I just mentioned, is we really looked at how can we strengthen our programs? How can we create greater impact in our community? How can we solidify our footprint in South County? And also importantly is kind of stretch those very hard dollars that are to come by. So one of the things that my agency has taken under is have been actually under an exploration and in a movement to join forces with the South County Compassion Center. And we feel that that is a sound thing in our focus groups and talking with our community members and supporters. Everyone is really behind this decision. It just makes a lot of sense. So again, as a business, we're very proud that we're taking the steps necessary to continue to, again, hopefully create that impact in our community, solidify, like I said, our footprint in South County, but also stretch those very hard dollars that are, a challenge to come by.
Yeah. Going back to pre-pandemic, pandemic, post-pandemic, what have you seen dollar-wise? I mean, just in general, I know donations are hard to come by anyway. What did going through 2020 through 2024 look like for you guys?
So, like most people, we pivoted, we adapted, and there was quite a bit of support, and we saw that everywhere, right? The interesting thing is that support, while it sustained for a while during the height of the pandemic, I would say from 2020 to 2023, again, we weren't expecting, and I don't think funders were expecting, that there would be this, kind of surge in need that, we again felt would slow back down, But colloquially, like I said, we're serving 300% more than we were pre-pandemic times, and those numbers are not decreasing. And again, there's lots of things, instability of work. There is systemic racism and other things that affect people of color and those impacted most by poverty. I think part of it, Mike, and I think there's been a lot of attention around the housing crisis, and that just kind of, I said it earlier, kind of sucks all the oxygen out of the room. And so I'm glad that our communities are paying a lot of attention to this, because one of the things that is an incredible burden are families that are what we call rent burden. So they're spending, 40, 50, 60% of their income simply on rent, and those rents keep going up, right? So they're always on that precipice. But we thought, if you look at, the combination of inflation, some systemic issues, decrease in funding, higher increased need, it's this perfect storm where, like I said, our services are up. I wish we were for-profit, because I would love to brag that, we're up 300%. But sadly, like I said, during the pandemic,
it doesn't translate.
It doesn't translate, right? But during the pandemic, we saw that tick, right? But I don't know if there's enough conversation, especially with some of the basic safety net services that we provide, where we're finding that ongoing source to meet that need. As I said, food is one of our priorities. We find food security to be a cornerstone for health, preventive health measures. And it's just, we're not finding people who are funding food programs. Years and years ago, food was a topic and it was a high priority in many communities' consolidated plans. It's simply not in the conversation anymore. Yet it is, at least for us, showing the highest level of need. And if we talk to some of our partners like Second Harvest of Silicon Valley and some other agencies, they are also feeling that impact, especially along the lines of food and access to nutritious food.
And as you said, it's now the big push is affordable housing in general, and that comes all the way, for our state anyway, it comes all the way from Sacramento with mandates on what communities and counties are supposed to be doing to provide housing. So all the effort, focus, and resources have been shifted to a large part.
To a large part. And again, we don't want to lose that. But in the same time, we don't want to lose, the conversation about the needs for, like I said, other basic safety net services like food, but mental health and some other very important needs our community has.
Yeah. So you somehow pulled together, I would call it a successful Thanksgiving holiday food basket program.
Yes.
What does Christmas look like for you?
Well, even our Thanksgiving program, we were anticipating serving around 2,000 poverty-impacted households, and we did about 2,500. So, for Christmas, we were kind of thinking around 1,500. Now we're actually thinking we're going to be up close to 2,000. So the community has responded wonderfully and remarkably, as they always have. But again, kind of one of the things I'm looking at is we are going to get through the holiday season with this great support. There's kind of again a lift of attention
Kind of
and
the holiday,
an awareness, the
yeah,
holiday
awareness,
the holiday awareness thing, right? But you know, call me on January 15th or February 1st, right? And that need is still going to be there,
right?
and it's going to continue to go up, and then that holiday cheer and that kind of awareness, that community awareness that we have this time of year, will have faded.
Yeah.
So I think one of our duties is to try to keep, without being, you know, overbearing, is to keep this in the consciousness of our community.
Right.
But right. I think, Mike, and I don't want to get too political, but you know, some of our services really do need to be supported by government resources. And you know, we've had cuts with city funding, county funding, federal funding, and it shouldn't fall on the backs of our community uniquely to support the needs of our neighbors. Right. So while we absolutely thrive and need that support, and always will, I think, to really have fluid services and a continuity that we need, it's the responsibility of the government to accept some of this, especially if you're looking at what we again feel is a cornerstone to health. So we're trying to raise that collective voice. We're doing it with our partners. We're talking to city officials. We're talking to county officials. And you know, we're kind of sort of moving the needle a little bit, but it used to be a lot easier to move that needle years ago as opposed to now. And what surprises me is there is a recognition that the need is through the roof.
Yeah, there's no, you don't have to search far to understand that the need for just food, nutrition is there. It's a bit of a mystery how, well, I mean, you know, reallocating the funds at the government level is really the issue, but it's kind of a mystery to me at how, you know, those who make those decisions somehow just go, well, let's just put it over here. It's like, it's such a holistic approach that needs to be taken to like the whole family, the whole community, the whole individual, and that's what sometimes seems to be lacking at the decision level.
I'd love to see, you know, a confluence or a coordination of a recognition that, you know, whether you're looking at a housing issue or you're looking at food insecurity or other issues, it really does take the entire community to make an impact and a lasting impact. And again, it's all for me related to health, right? Your health is challenged if you're not housed, securely housed, or you're homeless or unhoused, living in the streets or in your car. If you have food insecurity, that's going to lead to a plethora of health issues, especially for children. So these are things that, you know, we need to continue to talk and, like I said, kind of raise that awareness, not just at the community level, but that voice needs to carry over to our local governments. They need to hear this. And Mike, I'll just say something. You know, food banks were created, you know, 50 years ago to kind of address what used to be considered an acute need. You know, we need a couple days of food to get us through our last paycheck. We're going to get paid at the first of the month and everything's going to be fine. And food banks operated that way for a very long time. But in our community, where again it is extremely hard to thrive and survive, that has become a chronic need. Families coming to us intensify their services. So in other words, you know, we used to have families that would come once a month or twice a month, you know, kind of a minimal amount of times. 90%, over 90% of the families who come to us for food assistance maximize the number of times they come because it's become a chronic need, right? It not only is meeting some of the nutritional elements that family has, but one of the first things sacrificed in a family's budget is food. And medicine for seniors, right? Those are the things that are sacrificed, which, of course, those are the things you don't want sacrificed. But this chronic need is not only, like I said, helping families meet some of their nutritional needs, but it leverages their household income. So if a family's coming 4 times a month to us to receive food assistance, and let's say that food assistance is, you know, $75 worth of food or more, that's money the family can save and put towards rent, utilities.
$300 they can
reallocate to other areas. I think the conversation needs to really focus on how the need for food has gone from being an acute need to being more of a chronic need. And that's where we have to change, I think, the mentality or the perspective that not just our governments might have, but our community as a whole.
So it's just an outdated model, and what's needed is a kind of a paradigm shift, right, to the new reality.
To the new reality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so you've been there 24
24
years. How have you grown, changed, developed as a person and as a leader and as a community champion in that time?
You know, that's a very good question. I think for the most part, it's opened my eyes. I'm still a firm believer in community development, but also I realize, and I think it's become very apparent where we live, that there are some challenges that I'm not saying are insurmountable, but again, it's just kind of shifting that lens. It's kind of shifting, you know, how we are messaging some of the needs, you know. But mostly I think probably the thing I'm going to miss the most when I do hang up my hat is the spirit of community. I see it over and over again. And the generosity and the giving spirit and the compassion that our community, especially here in Gilroy and in South County, have. You know, these are communities that really do want, I think, what's best for our community, and I think sometimes we just need to help direct and channel that. But I think I'll miss that the most, you know. I mean, there's a lot of things I'm going to miss, but it's changed my lens. I think it's made me a little bit more wanting to do more system changes, wanting to do more advocacy, right? So not just being focused on the transactional aspect of what we do or what other agencies do, but again, kind of looking at how can we make this better for the next generations, right? You know, we just don't want to stay on these treadmills, you know, for an eternity. So I think that's been part of my growth, personal growth, maybe a little professional.
Interesting, interesting. So talk to me a little bit about your staff and the incredible volunteers that you have, because I think most people, or some people who are on the outside, would look at what you do in that operation and almost think that that's all staff. But the reality of it is very different, right? So talk about that a little bit.
Sure. As I mentioned earlier, we've been very reliant on community participation, especially people who will roll up their sleeves and help us out volunteer-wise. The pandemic threw a little bit of a curve to us because we couldn't engage our community like we wanted. But on a typical year, and we're getting back up there, but it's not quite there yet, you know, we would have about 20,000 hours of volunteer time donated on an annual basis, which is the equivalent of about 9 or 10 full-time staff members. So again, what we're doing is we're leveraging the community's efforts and participation to put more resources directly into the hands of those that we're serving. But the other reality is, as our programs have grown, the need has grown, funding has become scarce, we've actually had to increase our staff significantly because we need the reliability and the consistency to make sure that we have those services available. So again, it's somewhat transactional, but it's a necessity. But I don't know what we would do without that community participation. And it certainly shows itself during the holidays, whether it's an individual showing up with a bag of groceries and donating it, or it's a local retailer saying, you know what, we're going to give you the best price we can, and you can buy a whole bunch of turkeys with the money that the community has given you. So it really is the glue that kind of holds us together. So not just from a staffing perspective, you know, or even a service delivery perspective, but you know, financially, it kind of glues all
it fills all the holes.
It fills all the holes.
What is it like? This is maybe a weird question, but I'm curious. What is it like? Because I look at you and I talk with you, and you know, we talk from time to time, you know, which I'm very grateful for. I feel like you're one of those people who are just running all the time. Do you feel that, or is that just a perception I have from looking in from the outside?
Well, I think one of the reasons I've decided to step down is, you know,
because of that running.
Well, I've been running, you know, 24 years with this agency, and prior I worked for 10 years for another nonprofit. So, you know, I think what I'm learning, and this is what I'm hoping will become part of our organizational culture, is while my leadership has been kind of a servant leader, which is maybe why you see this, you know.
And you embody that so beautifully, but go ahead.
But part of that, it's not a great model of leadership, to be honest.
Hard to sustain.
It's hard to sustain, and it doesn't set a good culture So one of the things that we're really working on as we're looking at this joining of forces, this merger that we're looking at, is the importance of making sure our staff and our volunteers are well cared for, and that we find time for self-care.
Yeah.
Because we can't provide and be there for the community and its needs if we're not taking care of ourselves. So that's going to be a big, big focus. And that's something, unfortunately, I didn't really put a lot of time and attention to previously. Mm-hmm. But no, I think, like I said, I feel it's a duty. I consider myself a servant leader. Yeah. I think it resonates with some people, but it's very old school. Yeah. And I think, I'm really excited about new leadership for this agency because we have a strong foundation. We have 50 years of experience. We have great diverse support. We have volunteers in the community backing us almost unconditionally. So I think the next chapter, I just see great promise, and I'm very excited about that. But, after 24 years, the agency does need new direction, new ideas, and new vision. Yeah.
It speaks a lot to your character to say and believe what you just said. A lot of times it's not quite a founderitis thing, but it's like you're gonna pry my cold dead fingers off to get me out of here, and you are at a position where you're just like, nope, this place can go bigger and better when I'm gone.
When I step out of the way. Yeah.
That's pretty amazing. So one thing I want to thank you for is, as long as I've known you, which has been several years,
long time,
you've always inspired me because of your servant leadership. I tend to lead that way as well, and I'm trying to improve and worry about the self-care. But you absolutely embody that, and you are just a role model for what caring means and for what connecting to communities, connecting to those who are underserved, just giving it your all. One story I'm going to put back in your face is one of my favorite, one of my favorite, and this is weird to say it this way, but one of my favorite scenes in my memory of you is going up to Day on the Ridge, and I think it was last year, not 24, might have been 23. And it's a warm day, Memorial Day weekend, and Memorial Day actually, isn't it? Mm-hmm. And so anyway, we get up there, we get shuttled in, and we're VIP and blah, blah, blah. And you are the head of the organization that entire event is meant for. The first thing we do is we come up on the hill, we get out of the van, we walk down, and there's a whole line of bathrooms there. Now, there's some VIP bathrooms and then some other bathrooms. You have a bucket in your hand, towels in your hand, you've got sunscreen all over your face, and you're working your tail off cleaning bathrooms. Yeah. That I will never forget because, and again, we talk about how healthy that is as a servant leader, but that to me is the epitome of leadership. You are humble, you are a servant leader, and you are a role model by just your existence and your example. So I am super grateful that we're friends, that I can call you friend. I look up to you very much, and I respect everything that you do for the community, for your organization. And I hope when the transition comes, you're still close enough around that we can chit-chat every now and then. Absolutely. And just stay in contact, because you're one of those people, I think, that has not only made Gilroy great, I think you will continue to make Gilroy and the South County great just by your presence and everything that you bring.
Thank you.
So I'm super grateful for you.
Appreciate it.
Tell us real quick how to help, how to contact St. Joseph's, how to donate, how to maybe volunteer. And again, Christmas, yes, but after Christmas, January, February, even maybe more importantly. Yeah. So please look into, give me a camera, let him look into yours, and speak right into it.
You can go to our website, stjosephsgilroy.org, and you can certainly make a donation, and you can also sign up. We have a volunteer application, takes about 30 seconds to fill out, that gets sent to our team. Our team will disseminate that, and we'll try to find a spot and an opportunity to engage the individual or the family or whoever is interested in volunteering. But yeah, I would definitely just want to reiterate that, the services that we provide and the need that's out there are kind of chronic needs. So there's a heightened awareness during the holidays, but our needs are almost as great as they are in January or February as they are right now.
Yeah.
So that's the message I've been trying to kind of state and show. And I really appreciate what you said about servant leadership, Mike. But my mother and father taught me, whatever you do 100%, and every job is, find pride in it. So I feel it sets a good example, and I thank you for recognizing that. And
Absolutely.
I think that's why we're kindred spirits, because I know you're the same way. So.
Yeah, probably so. I
but
might
yeah.
need counseling.
Yes. Well, we can talk.
We could talk,
Yeah.
for sure. We could talk. All right. Well, hey, thank you. I appreciate
Always
you.
a pleasure.
Yes, and absolutely happy holidays. Nothing but the best for you guys.
Appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you so much, guys.
Talk
Happy
soon.
holidays.
That's it for this segment of Community Spotlight. We want to thank our special guest, David Cox from St. Joseph's Family Center in Gilroy, for sharing all the great things they've done in 2024 and all the great things they have planned for 2025. We want to especially thank you, our viewers, for coming in and supporting us. We hope you enjoyed the show. We look forward to seeing you soon. Thank you.